Boom, 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 everybody. Happy Saturday to you. I hope you're having a great Saturday and an amazing weekend so far. My name is Don Terrell and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion. I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, and visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that, I love, love, love so much. You know the drill. Hop into the comments. Say, hey, where you tuning in from? While I make sure that we are, firing on all cylinders here. Hopefully, we're still waiting on our guest to pop in to the show. So hopefully, she'll pop in before I get through all the little housekeeping stuff. But again, you know the drill. Hop into the comments, say hey. I always try to make this interactive and engaging show. So, hey, only you can do that for me. Like I said, it looks like we are firing on, let's see, looks like we are live on LinkedIn is going. All right. Let's make sure that we are smoking. Looks like going on the Facebook group. Looks like YouTube is going as well. All right. Always, always. Instagram is always the last to get going because I have to click go live on that. Again, I am still waiting for my guest to come into the green room. But this is another episode that I'm super excited about. Been looking forward to this one for a while. So hopefully everything will go as planned. So far, we're not having an issue with the streaming, but Mr. Gant, I appreciate you joining in there. Mr. George, I appreciate you stopping in and popping in. I always appreciate everybody that, excuse me, gives me a little bit of their time every Saturday afternoon because I know that you could be doing a lot of different things and showing up uh, elsewhere. So I always appreciate the fact that people stop by and tune in to the show. Like I said, we are here. Let me make sure that we are on the right scene here. Okay. Like I said, we are here every Saturday afternoon, live 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on LinkedIn, our LinkedIn channel. You definitely can check us out in the Facebook group community as well. We're now live streaming vertically on Instagram, our Instagram channel at The Color of Motion. And we're also doing a fun little giveaway for the remainder of this season. The first comment that comes through on the Instagram live, checking it out on Instagram, the first comment that pops in, you win a Amazon gift card. So definitely, if you're checking out the show from Instagram, pop a comment in, and you may be the first to chime in, and you'll win a Amazon gift card. So, but I always encourage everybody to kind of get plugged into the YouTube channel. I always encourage everybody to get plugged into the YouTube channel. Let's see. There we go. Man, this has been a thing with the there we go. Like I said, the animations, my animations have been playing a lot slower this quarter. So I'm gonna have to be doing some retooling during hiatus. Again, we're waiting for my guests to pop in. That's always the stressful part of doing live. Um, you know, as things happen, you have to kind of roll with them. And for some reason, this quarter particularly has been challenging to say the least. But as you know, and as I've done through 6 seasons, 6 years, 6 seasons of doing this show, you learn to roll with the things that happen. You have to, because again, when I started this show, my goal was to get a professional show. So I start on time, and I try to respect you, the audience, my audience, with it. So hopefully everything is okay with my guests. You never know, um, but again, I'm waiting for my guest to pop in. Let's see, she might have sent a message. Waiting for my guest to pop in. Uh, Not sure what I had not heard from her, so we will march on through this. Again, I'm here every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if for some reason my guest doesn't show up, uh, you know, we roll with it and we'll just have a fireside kind of chat. But I think got all the housekeeping stuff. No, I didn't. Let me jump over here. Let me jump to this thing here. Also, uh, um, this year, definitely asking for help as far as supporting the channel. You know, cannot do it without you. We're putting together, still putting together the Patreon, our Patreon kind of page, but for right now, buy me a coffee there. If you want to support the channel, any little thing that you can do, definitely help me to continue to do the show, bring great guests to you, and create great content for you. So please, please, please hop on over and check out the page. Um, I'm gonna wait to go through the little intro here before I march on with the other little housekeeping stuff. Let me say again, I've been looking forward to this episode. Hopefully, we can get through it. Again, I'm still waiting for my guests to pop into the green room and show up. But like this, we can, I think, at least go and get the intro out the way. What do you say? I want to jump over to this scene. This is the scene. I think we can go. All right, all right, all right. We are back, and we may have to do a pivot because, again, my guest that originally was scheduled for today hasn't popped into the green room yet. Let's hope that everything is okay because I hadn't heard anything from her yet. Uh, Also, you can definitely check us out. We're looking to really, like I said, continue to grow the channel there and grow our audio platform. You can find us here on some of the audio platforms such as Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. We're really looking to grow the audio portion. A lot of people like to watch, or not watch, but listen to the episode on the go or just a little clip of it. The audio portions are more of the stripped down version of the show. It's not the full episode, but more more of the stripped down episode. So it's a lot more dense. Please jump into the comments, as I always like to say, and engage. Uh, Definitely. Oh, there's another thing I do want to mention as well. You know, my mom used to say, "Closed mouth doesn't get fed," so you have to ask. Definitely, if a lot of you haven't heard by now or don't know by now, YouTube made some kind of sweeping changes as far as like total views, number of watch hours moving forward in 2027. And I think I'm going to do a video talking about this or post talking about this. I think it's a little harder now to get, you know, hit that goal of being able to be monetized. I think it's, I can't remember what it is. I think it's 10,000 watch hours, but they raised the views and the watch hours that you have to get now in order to you know, be qualified. And we are right at the cusp of hitting 1,000. We're 906. I know we can definitely reach 1,000 by the end of the year, before the end of the year, really. So definitely need you to do me a solid and really share share the channel with somebody that you feel would benefit from checking out the show, other creatives, other people that can learn some stuff and really engage in a creative community. My goal is to really make this the best community that I can, but I can't do it without you, for sure. Also, um, if you aren't subscribed to the channel yet and have been watching, and I know, you know, 75% or more people, you know, they watch it and they come to the channel, but they aren't subscribed yet. So definitely, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. And again, share it with other creative professionals that can learn some stuff and really enjoy the show. Um, I think we're gonna have to maybe do a maybe open pivot and kind of talk because you know, I'm gonna have to work through this until my guest shows up. Hopefully, again, let's you know, pray that everything is okay. While we do it, let's check out a little bit of her work. You know, before she comes on, if she comes on, because she's done some amazing stuff and worked on some really cool projects. So I would at least like to show it. So let's take a look.
I have been observing you for weeks. You are the super squad I need to help save Lusaka. K Bongo, Zaipezi, Nkozo, Team Lilo. Together, you possess the...
Oh, I want it to be delicious.
It's go-go time.
Time to shine bright and make things right. I am Kia, Dance Ninja. We are one, yes we are strong. We're here to help. Kia and the Heroes are heroes.
Open your eyes. It is not what we have, but what we do. Let's go.
We are headed to the big leagues, Jaya Army. You think that's fast? Watch this.
Let's play. Oh, And we are back. Like I said, it looks like we're going to have to make a pivot on this show, but I wanted to show some of her work and definitely kind of talk a little bit about that because, a lot of y'all have seen over these years that I've had a vast majority of my guests that are from the continent of Africa. And as we've seen over that time, a lot of new great content coming out of the you know coming out of content, a lot of creators, and that's why I've been bringing a lot of them on because they're doing some amazing work. And now you're starting to see a lot of companies like Disney, Sony, Amazon, the other platforms and companies really start to partner with a lot of the studios over there to bring original African stories um, to viewers. So the industry, and I'm always curious about how the industry is growing over there versus how it is over here. You know, uh, Animation over here in this country has been a big thing. What it's grown tremendously, but as far as industry wise, we've always kind of had the support from, different organizations, our government, funding is a lot different here. Um, and it's something that's growing a lot more over there, especially again, as we're starting to see, more opportunities open up for creators over there, more platforms and more channels and outlets for creators to get their content out there. So we are starting to see a big growth in this space, not just here but over there in the content and elsewhere. Again, I try to connect and build relationships and friendships with so many great creators out there all over the world, and try and bring them to you. So it's a thing that I love sharing. I definitely want to hear, how you're seeing the industry. Again, we've had to make a shift. For those of you just jumping on, I am not, my guest Vanessa. She has not shown up and come into the show yet. So hopefully everything is okay on her end. But again, as you all know, and especially as you've seen in this quarter, a lot of stuff comes up with live, and I've learned to kind of roll with it, try to get better at it, um, making some sweeping changes and thinking about the changes, moving forward to make this better, and even a better experience. So, um, like I said, any feedback, uh, suggestions, uh, definitely is appreciated. Uh, let me make sure that we're still going. But again, uh, I think this episode was probably going to be more of a fireside chat, kind of just talking. Let's just talk. Let's just talk. Again, I want to know what you're doing in the industry, what you're seeing in the industry. I'm seeing a lot of uh, things that are really happening. Oh, I want to definitely share another little portion of what I've been wanting to do as far as sharing opportunities with other creators. That jobs come across my feed all the time, as I'm sure yours. So I like to share opportunities that come across my feed that would be helpful, maybe helpful to other creators out there. Um, it's funny. Uh, it seems like the industry's been struggling as far as opportunities and just jobs and companies laying off and this and that. But in that same vein, I am seeing and am getting a lot of job. It seems like there's a lot of companies out there that are hiring. They may not be the big ones that were a lot of creators are looking to get into. Like Pixar, Disney, and such. But I think for those ones that are looking to get into those smaller and mid-sized companies are a lot more better entryways into this industry. Able and Baker is another one. I've had several uh, job postings come across from them, so they seem to be doing a lot of hiring. So they must have some projects in the pipeline that they're coming up. This one is for senior CFX artists, creative effects. I think that's creative effects artists. So definitely a job to check out. All the links and to the show notes will be in the show notes. The link to the post where you can check out even more information and where you can apply will be in the show notes. So definitely make sure that you check out that and apply if it seems like a good fit for you. This is another one. Inkration is the company, and they're hiring a 2D animator. Um, so if you're a 2D animator, could be an opportunity for you. And I think one of the softwares is Blender, so they might be looking for some Blender artists as well. Um, Definitely, I feel like as I always say, this is a great time and opportunity for indie creators and storytellers to get their ideas out there. You got a lot of streaming platforms and a lot of other platforms that are hunting for content and hunting for creators. Let me, let me, there's one more. This is another good one. Uh, and this one is from Kickstarter. And I don't know, this came across my page a couple of weeks ago. So they think this is a new initiative that they're doing, a $1 million creative kind of fund for creators. So if you have an idea or a story, you might want to check out Kickstarter and check this out because it could be a great opportunity. Kickstarter's really kind of grown. I've been trying to get the CEO Everett on the show. But again, it's hard to kind of catch up with some people and have them come on and talk about just Kickstarter as a whole and this program this creator fund that they put together. I was reading earlier today, just the growth that he's been able to manage with Kickstarter and bringing more creatives in. So definitely an opportunity if you have an idea for something. All right, all right. Let's jump back over here. Again, I apologize for everybody that's maybe just jumping in or checking this out. Uh, I guess hadn't shown up, so we're gonna have to kind of make an in run and a pivot here. I'm trying to get better at this, and I think I've learned that to have backup plans as far as topics. So working in hiatus time, I'm going to be putting in some topics to kind of cover me when things don't go as planned. Definitely, if you know of any topics or if there's anything that you would like to see, I always encourage and ask that you send me a message, email me, or just jump on the show and let me know things that you might want to see, might want to talk about, might want to hear about. Again, my goal is to make this the best resource that I possibly can. And again, I cannot do it without you, the viewers, showing up. Uh, like I said, I have to apologize. I don't want to keep apologizing, but I have to let people know because they'll come on and watch it midstream, and this is not Vanessa. So it looks like we may have to reschedule her again. But with that, let me know. Jump into the comment and let me know of anything. Let's have an open discussion. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of movies starting to come out. Is anybody? I haven't gone to see either Spider-Man or The Odyssey. Uh, Definitely would love to hear if anybody's seen it, what their thoughts are. I'm looking forward to Doomsday, Rangers Doomsday, towards the end of the year. There's a lot of great movies coming out. And let me know if you feel like there is a resurgence in kind of the theater movie going experience. I've kind of heard these things back and forth where a lot of movie theaters now are starting to feel like they're getting people back in. I think they're trying to make a kind of shift with the movie experience and make it more a premium thing to where those diehard movie fans are the ones that are going to go to the theater to really get the going experience. And I know a lot of directors, creators are kind of pushing back on studios that are really rushing to get their films onto streaming platforms and give their film uh, a little chance to breathe at the movie theaters. That's always a challenge with, I think, and the like. Again, jump into the comments. I got to ask you. Uh, Say hey, where you're tuning in from, what part of the world you're tuning in from. I can see what platform you're kind of checking this out on, but always want to see where in the world people are kind of watching the show from, checking out the show. Um, Definitely as we close out this quarter, which next week is our final episode before we take a short hiatus. And definitely going to be retooling a lot of stuff during hiatus. Um, but you don't want to miss that episode because, again, it's our final episode before we take a short hiatus break next week. And I'll, as we get to the end, definitely going to show you, who's our next week's guest. But again, for everybody just jumping in, um, I'm not sure what the issue is, but my guest hadn't shown up yet and hadn't popped in, so hopefully everything is fine and okay on their end. But as you know, I have to start the show on time. I try to be professional about just showing up. My thing is showing up, whether it goes to plan or not. Always worries me. I'm always concerned about that, and definitely when these things happen, it adds to the exact anxiety and the stress of just live because live brings it anyway. It seems like Mr. Dwan, I appreciate you stopping by and tuning in as always. Dwan's one of those ones that, I really so appreciate. He's been such a loyal, a great guest, and I have to bring you back on, Dwan. But he's been one of those, loyal viewers that pops in and really supports the show. So Dwan, I always appreciate you showing up. Yeah, my guest is late. And hopefully, again, everything is okay. I haven't heard from my guest. So, I have to press on. And after the show, try and reach out and see if everything's going okay. More than likely, as you see, we're probably going to have to reschedule her again for another episode. But I march on. I continue to just do what I can do and kind of switch and pivot and have a fun fireside chat. But I know moving forward, I think I'm going to take a lot more time as far as, having some backup kind of plans. Because again, this quarter has been a very, very stressful quarter, I will say. And I'll be honest, it's been a very stressful quarter. Um, Finally getting to the limit of my system as far as really giving you an interactive and an engaging show. So next week, I'm trying to make it to next week and get through next week's episode. Hiatus will give me a little chance to again make some kind of sweeping changes in kind of how I do things and how I kind of lay out the show. But I would love to hear your opinion, your thoughts on trying to make the show a better show and a better experience. I always talk about what experience a person has when you're with your brand. When I talk branding and design with clients, I always talk about in the end, it's the experience that determines, how people react to your brand, whether they show up, whether they buy it, support you or whatever. It's the experience that they take away from it. So I always try and bring the best experience that I can. And I'm going to use this episode to kind of talk about just the 6 year growth of doing the show. And I'll admit and try and be as honest and straightforward with you. It hasn't been easy. It's been fun, but it has not been easy because again, doing a live show is a different beast than doing pre-recorded shows. If this was a pre-recorded show, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you. But it's a live show, and that's what I feel like makes and sets the Color of Motion apart from other shows. There's a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great shows out there that's giving a great information and really helping the industry. And I always shout out, the ones that I know about, the creators that I know about. There's a lot of great ones. Uh, Diverse Tunes, um, Deb Anderson's got a black woman animator. There's a lot of great content and creators out there. And my thought is, and my feeling always is, a rising tide lifts all boats. I don't try and pit myself against other shows. I try not to get caught up in the hang up of numbers. I try not to get caught up in the hang up of what others are doing, not doing. I try to use them as an inspiration for me and what I can do and bring to this show. But I definitely don't like getting caught up in this kind of me versus them. What are they doing? Me trying to be better than them or anything like that. I just try and add to the industry that I love and that, I just I met some great creators and made some great friends over these 6 years of doing the show. And I often think about, how long will I do this? How long can I continue to do this? And my thought is, as long as I have breath, and as long as I find it enjoyable, and as long as you'll have me. So, with that, I try to keep the train moving. Uh, Again, anybody just hopping into the show, obviously, I am not Vanessa. She has not popped into the green room. You know, hopefully, and at some point, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna have to, just say we're gonna reschedule her, but hopefully she'll pop in. Definitely, any past guests that might want to pop in, let me know, or drop a topic. I love talking about the industry. When these episodes kind of happen, up to this point, I've been doing like fireside chats, but I'm moving into kind of the final quarter of the year and moving forward, I will have more kind of ready-made stuff and ready-made topics to talk about. And, so again, not quite caught off guard. Uh, as you can tell, this has been stressing. And I think what adds to it, not so much the guest, but what adds to it is the technical difficulties that I've been having with the show. And Jonathan, I know what you're gonna say. You need to get a PC, but definitely during hiatus, I am upgrading my system because again, I reached my limit as far as how I can push this baby here. But I appreciate you, Jonathan, stopping by, uh, talking industry talk. But let's talk industry. Let's throw a topic out that you might want to talk about, and we'll have a fun conversation about that. Something happened. Yeah, just popping in. My guest uh, did not show, so I'm having to, and hopefully, again, everything is okay. I haven't heard from her, so I have to kind of press forward and afterwards check in. But we will reschedule her if she doesn't pop into the show before then. But yeah, that's been, and like I was saying, especially this quarter has been, like I said, very stressing, stressing quarter. And while I'm not stopping yet, it really has pushed me to the point where I've questioned whether or not kind of reached the limit of the show. I don't feel I have. I feel there are a ton more creators uh, that I want to connect with. There are a ton more things that I want to bring to you, share with you, um, and definitely being able to bring great creators like Jonathan, like Dewan and George, and some of the other ones that have shown up. Definitely bringing you all on the show for me is a learning experience along with the viewers as well. Uh, but we 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 press on. What else here? Always, I guess I can just jump around. I think one of the good things is though, not having a guest, I think doesn't uh, put so much of a stress on. So I can kind of jump around from scene to scene. It's just a lot of the animations and a lot of my animated overlays uh, are playing slow. Uh, and I definitely wouldn't be probably jumping around to scenes like this during a live if I had a guest on. Uh, bring Dr. Chris. Still got to bring Dr. Chris on. Uh, Chris, let me know. I'm thinking of another Chris, but let me know who you're specifically talking about, Dr. Chris. I've been trying to bring Chris Chris Wembley on the show. He's animator and director on the show. I think with I want to say Leica, but don't hold me to it. But let me know. And if you have an introduction, I'm always open to meet and connect with other creators. So I always try to tell people if you know of anybody that you feel would make a great guest, is willing to come on the show, share their knowledge, and really have a fun conversation, please, send me the information, or better yet, make an introduction. That always helps even more. But I'm always looking to bring new creatives onto the show, and really ones that, like I said, have a fun personality, want to be on the show, want to share. Um, you know, I know a lot of creatives. Their thing is, and I've heard this a lot when I've reached out to a lot of creatives. I'm the quiet type, and I like being behind the scenes. They're not really, I don't really like being out in the open. So they don't like doing interviews, which I respect. But those ones that, just they're fun. They have a fun time and we have a fun time and a fun conversation. And are used to kind of being on the camera, like being on the camera. Those are the ones that make for a very, make my job so much easier. Jonathan, you made my job so much easier. You know, there's so many that have come on the show that are just, I don't have to do too much. They have a fun personality and it just goes. Oh, appreciate that. Again, I'm going to reach out and definitely connect. But again, if you have a personal relationship with them, an introduction goes a long way. It definitely does. Like I said, during hiatus, I've seen during this quarter a lot of things that I'm going to have to kind of make pivots on and make changes with. So the rest of this year, and particularly hiatus, uh, I got to make some changes because I feel like this year, and I don't know, maybe all shows kind of hit that point where you feel like you kind of leveled off and maybe dropped a little, that you have to start making changes or kind of take a step back and see what fresh new thing that you can do and bring. Definitely guest, um, new guests, and you know, really higher. I really would like to get some higher level executives or really more higher level people on the show. I love having artists and creators on, but definitely because I like talking about the industry and they're as creators, we're concerned about what's going on in the industry, especially in these studios. Having executives on or higher level C suite people on to talk about the industry, maybe not necessarily talking about their specific company, because that's a big thing too. I get is a lot of people are afraid to come on or hesitant about coming on because they don't say anything disparaging, which I definitely don't get into specific company, what a person's specific company is doing. I always say, you come on, everything you say is from your perspective and your point of view. And is not reflective of the company that you work on. But I know a lot of creators, they're worried about that, or they have to go through, especially if they're in one of those higher level companies like Disney or Sony. They have to go through this approval process of doing an interview. So I get the red tape that a lot of creators that are at studios have to go through. But I always try to clarify that it has nothing to do with your company or what's going on in your company or anything like that. I bring you on to talk about your personal story, your personal journey, and your thoughts, and insight into the industry. Um, and so that's a thing that I'm really trying to figure out how to kind of really make that clear in the interview process and in the initial process when I connect with guests. It's never about the studio that they're working on, because I understand they're not able to talk about any current project that they're working on anyway. So I don't even bother asking them about, what they're working on at Disney or Pixar, because they can't talk about that until it comes out. So usually I'll catch them in, the early stages or the stages they're working on, films and things like that. And I hate it because I'd love to talk about it. I had that experience with Luis Gonzalez. Uh, he was on the show, and he was at the time he was working on kind of helping out on Black Panther, doing storyboards and things like that. But he couldn't really talk about it. Uh, but I had him back on, so he was able to kind of talk about it a little more once Black Panther came out. So that was kind of cool. But again, at the time, he was working, helping out on it, and it hadn't come out yet, so he couldn't talk about any of the stuff that he was doing and working on. Sinners as well. I think the second time he was helping him working out with Sinners. He couldn't talk about it, so stuff like that I get, and I try, like I said, to make it really clear that it's about you. I want to know. We want to know. I want to know your story, your journey, insights from you, and I tell everybody, not only guests but viewers as well. I'm sitting here trying to learn and glean, just like you are, the viewer. Trying to find my way through the industry, trying to figure out the things I like doing, I like sharing, and that's the beauty of being creative. Maybe the downside when you like so many different things, but I love just the creative process. Doesn't necessarily matter what the medium is. Um, it's a creative. As long as it's a creative thing, I pretty much like it. Photography, sculpting, um, animation, 2D, 3D, stop motion, which brings me to, I don't know if anybody's, I guess everybody has. It's a really big thing now. Leica has a great movie coming out, Wildwood. I'm super excited about that. Um, and I've noticed that on their advertisements, all their advertisements, they're making a point of saying handmade, crafted by people. And I've noticed that creators now are really going out of their way to let everyone know that they're not using AI. Everything that they do is made by a human, touched by a human. So that's an interesting thing that I was thinking about as I was watching their trailer for Wildwood. But I would, and I definitely would love to get somebody on from from Leica, because obviously Leica is like that pinnacle company of stop motion. I've had some great artists on, even some stop motion artists, Esther Gbadamosi from Nigeria, great stop motion animator. Um, but I would love to get more stop motion in. That's a medium that you can really appreciate more when you watch the behind the scenes and just see how they're bringing a full length movie to life, moving miniatures. It's enough just on shorts. And another person I really been working to get on, DM Galloway. I don't know if a lot of you seen his stuff on LinkedIn. He animates a lot of He does toy animations. So a lot of these current toys like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, He-Man, he's animated and made some very fun animations. Not just animating the characters, but just his directing style. So I've been working to get him on to really bring not only 2D animation, but 3D animation, stop motion. There's so many different styles and mediums out there, and people out there. And actually, there's another, she's a VR artist, which I always found interesting as far as a business, because VR, um, it's something that, okay, it's not a tangible thing, but she does like big VR demonstrations. Um, and I don't want to butcher her last name because I think it's Russian or German. I think it's Russian. Um, but she does like VR presentations, painting demonstrations. That's another thing I would love to get on. Just so many different mediums that I love and that I have a passion for. And getting creators on is a challenge. Connecting with people is a challenge. And it's funny, I was sitting earlier today thinking about these 6 years of doing the show. And I have to admit, the first 4 years probably coasted as far as uh, guests, getting guests. It was very easy, getting guests. And I kept myself 2, 3 months ahead, even 4 months at times ahead, booked up for guests. As it as the season's gone on, which again shows me that okay, I feel like I've hit a plateau. It's been challenging getting um, connecting and getting guests on. Artists and creators are busy, you know. A lot of artists, again, like I said, don't feel comfortable being on live or just being in front of the camera. So it's it's been interesting for sure. But I've enjoyed the notion of getting into spaces that will allow me to make these connections better. Uh, Upcoming, obviously, I'll talk more about think in third quarter or the final quarter of this season, because Barry will be coming on. I'm going to be doing Gamescom again, film festival out in Vegas at the end of the year, a special live broadcast. That will only be on YouTube as always, but I'm super excited about that. Really looking forward to partnering more with other organizations, other animation organizations, groups, functions, to really kind of connect and build relationships and bring even more artists. I've had Keith White on with Afro Animation. Been trying to get Rio on, Cyrus with Afro Animation as well, but working try and figure out how we can connect and come. I'd like to do more live broadcast or remote live broadcasting. So I definitely want to get around to a lot more events. Definitely want to try to hit NAB next year, Comic Con. I'm going to do our local Comic Palooza here in Houston. Definitely want to do that. So any introductions, any groups, any connections that you may have, I would love, love, love to get them. Again, for everybody just tuning in, I am not Vanessa. uh, Something came up. I'm not sure what. She hadn't popped in. So this episode has been just me trying to get through. But it's been a challenging one for sure. But I always appreciate you hanging out with me. Please hop into the comments. You know, let's talk a little bit. I won't make this a long one. I typically don't when I have to make pivots, which in a sense is kind of good because they're short ones. And these definitely take up a lot of bandwidth putting the show together. Like Saturdays are just the show. Um, Obviously, putting things together during the week, but show Saturdays show day. So I typically don't do anything on Saturdays. It's all for the show because it's a lot of work prior and then afterwards. My bandwidth is a little low, but I enjoy it doing it so much. I don't know. Let me know if you think it may be a time or day wise. I don't think during the week would work. Again, Saturdays has been the best because most people are free on Saturday, can pop in, and I definitely don't like doing it in the evenings, which is what I would have to do if I did it during the week. So Saturdays is probably the best day, but you can let me know whether 3 o'clock Central Time um, is a good time. I think it is because it's kind of a middle kind of ground there. West Coast, it it would be 1 o'clock West Coast time. East Coast time it would be 4. Again, the majority of my guests, a lot of my guests have been from Africa and other parts of the world. So the time difference is a lot. And Vanessa, she's from South Africa. So there it's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. It's late. So I always offer for my guests that are overseas, I do offer pre-recording that they can do because I get that there's a big time difference. But I always tell them I appreciate them coming on live because I do and am aware of the big time difference and staying up late. And again, 3 o'clock over in Africa, especially, most of Africa, like I said, as it gets over towards the east, uh, is around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I think a lot of my guests have been like from Nigeria, Lagos, um, um, South Africa, and that's around, like I said, 10, 11 o'clock. So, not sure. I'm trying to check something. So, again, I try to, for my guests that are over there, I do have a pre-recorded option available, and I can pre-record it and play it. I have with some guests. All righty, everybody just jumping in. I'm not Vanessa. We had to make a pivot because she had popped in. It looks like that I'm going to have to reschedule her on the last quarter of the season. Next week's episode, which I pray goes well. Next week's episode, LinkedIn keeps cutting out on me. Let me see. It's playing. I'm not sure why it's cutting out because it is playing. While I don't listen to it because I'll get feedback, I do watch to make sure that everything is playing on that. So hopefully it's not an issue. I know you said that happened to you before, Jonathan. LinkedIn kind of cut out on you. Let's see. Restream is going. Yeah, all the channels are going. I did have an issue last week, but that was with Facebook. Even Instagram is going. I don't have my phone. I would check Instagram. Again, anybody that is checking out from Instagram, the first comment that comes through from Instagram, we are doing a giveaway the remainder of the year. The first comment from Instagram Live wins a gift card from Amazon. So if you do happen to be checking out and want a gift card, throw in a comment. That's all you got to do. But it is the first comment that comes in from the Instagram channel. Yeah, it might be on me. For some reason, LinkedIn streams always cut out. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. So, like I said, I know I have a lot of issues with Facebook sometimes. Facebook group more than anything sometimes, but that's just Facebook. Yeah, hey, my thing is, and I've only had one winner so far. Like I said, I've only had one person since we started. And we started streaming from Instagram this quarter. And I've only had one winner so far that commented. And he's a childhood friend of mine, but he checked it out he jumped on the show and commented and was checking it out from Instagram. So he won him an Amazon card. So, hey, like I said, if you want to win something, be the first comment from Instagram. Color of Motion, Instagram at the Color of Motion. That's where you can connect and check out our Instagram. Let me throw this up here. Let me jump over here while I'm doing this. This scene. It's this scene. And you can check us out on Instagram at the Color of Motion. There, like I said, follow us. Comment. You'll win your card. But we're trying to grow the Instagram channel for sure. So this fun giveaway. I was only going to do it for the quarter, but since I've been having so many technical difficulties this quarter and have had to reschedule a few of the shows, I decided to carry it out through the remainder of the season. Okay, let me drop this down. Let me jump over here. Yeah. Like I said, this has been, like I said, a challenging one for sure. Let me throw this up. All right, Mr. Jonathan, we in the building, and you have won a gift card. And I got your email, so I will be sending you out a gift card from Amazon. Appreciate it, brother. Definitely make sure you follow us. I was saying earlier that if you all don't know and haven't heard by now, I'm pretty sure if you have a YouTube channel, you've heard. and know the news. YouTube has made some sweeping changes as far as views and just getting uh, monetized or getting to the point where you can get ad revenue. I mean, everybody always tried, and at first it was a, 1,000 subscribers and I think 4,000 watch hours, but they've upped all of that. So it's harder now. So I'm definitely pushing for people to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow, follow us, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. Definitely, if you're checking out the show and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Also share it because that's definitely going to help the channel grow. Share it with other creators that you feel would benefit or enjoy the show, or maybe may want to be part of the show. Share it with them. But we're at the cusp. I'm so close. They said the first 1,000 is the hardest, and it gets easier after that. At least that's what some of my other friends that are have reached 1,000 say. The first 1,000 is hard, but after that, it gets easier, which I'm not sure about that. We'll see. Hopefully that's the case. But we're so close. We're at 906. I definitely know that you should be able to. I should be able to hit 1,000. Definitely way before the end of the year. But I can't do it without you. So please, if you want to share it, like and subscribe, I would be so appreciative and grateful. Again. Appreciate that, Mr. Jonathan. I'm going to do that too. Yep. But yeah, I'm really looking to. Yeah, that's surprising. It took you forever to hit 1,000. I feel like, um, you have to let me know when you initially started your channel. I mean, and I don't have an insane amount of video. Well, maybe I do. I've seen uh people with fewer videos than I have on my channel with way more subscribers. So, I think for me, it's part content. It's surprising that someone like you, it took a while. It's always I think the hardest. They said like I said, they say it's the hardest to hit the first 1,000, but I think if you have really engaging content. It's a lot quicker. And if you post on a regular basis, um, post videos, a lot of my views and stuff come from my shorts. So my channel has grown tremendously just from my shorts and doing, shorts. Yeah, social media, yeah, it's weird, and I think the thing with YouTube and them changing it really kind of got me to thinking more and more and more about, you really need to get people on your own platform. I was listening to uh, someone talking about, social channel and just actually Dragana, and she was talking about, promoting her short. I've heard from a lot of people, we got to look at it. We're on rented land. And so we're at the whim of whatever the landlord does, and if they decide to raise the rent, you're either going to pay it or you're going to move. Those are the only two choices that you got. So thinking about that moving forward, using my social channels to grow, my base, but trying to get people onto your own platform. Uh, Yep. I was at events yesterday and had people come up to me talking about they haven't seen a video of mine for at least, wow. Yeah, that's which is true because it's funny, you know, you watch something, all of a sudden you're getting a lot of their videos, and then all of a sudden you're not getting a lot of your videos, a lot of their videos. So the algorithm is weird, and I don't know. You almost think it's, intentional. I'm not gonna get into the deep well of, just nefarious things that social media may or may not do. But yeah, you're at the whim of what they decide to do with the algorithm, and that's why I really try not to focus so heavy on the numbers, because if I did, I would really be going crazy, or really be having an issue. Um, Obviously, I think the ones that have those huge channels, you know, they they have to look at their numbers and kind of go from there. And as my channel does grow, I am more cognizant of the analytics and being able to make changes. But I try not to, again, if I don't get views, especially with live shows, you know, a lot of creators get caught up with, ah, you know, I don't have a lot of people on live. And I used to think that, like, when you would watch, I would watch, like, gamers stream their stream their channel. They'd just be playing the game. But man, they would have 300 or 400 people on the live stream, just watching them play a game or playing the game and stuff. So, depending on your content, your show, you can have a lot. And I know that, early on, that kind of I thought about that a little. Of like, well, you don't have a lot of live viewers on sometimes. And again, a big part of that, which I do want to remedy moving forward, is stressing to my guests, hey, I want you to promote your episode. Just as much as I'm promoting your episode, there are parts of your community that I'm not going to be able to reach. So I want you to really push your episode. So that's why I want guests that are really, I hate to say, I'm not, feel like they're going on Joe Rogan. I'm pretty sure if they were going on Joe Rogan, um, or going on to Oprah Winfrey, they'd be telling everybody, hey, I'm going on Oprah Winfrey. You need to watch me, type of thing. I'm not at that level. I get it. But I want, you know, people to feel like, hey, this is still a professional platform. I want, to promote it to my community and be proud enough to promote it to their community. Uh, yeah, the gamers, that is true. They be streaming for a long time. Yeah, oh, they're streaming for a long time. But I think if you have a good community and you're engaged, um, you know, I think having a good turnout on your live events is a good signal that your community is really engaged with you. And again, my thing is, I want I want the guests to really feel proud that they're coming on the show, promoting it to their community, promoting the channel to their community, and say, "Hey, this is a show you should check out. Oops. This is a show you should check out. I'm gonna be on the show." So I'm trying to make it, moving forward, very easy for the guests to promote their episodes by having pre-made graphics for them, pre-made scripts for them. You almost have to, and that's everything. That's in every business. You have to make it really easy. And I've tried to make the show really easy for my guests, not only for my guests but for me as well. Like I said early on, I had done a show before, prior, me and another co-host, but had no process, no system of really getting guests, scheduling guests, anything like that. So when I sat down to really start to do this show, I knew I wanted to make it easy for me and the guests to schedule their own date that they're comfortable with and available for. Um, Upload everything themselves, and make it really easy. So, moving forward, I got to think even more. How can I make it even more easier for the guests to want to be on the show and be a part of the show? Like I said, I don't have a problem with promoting other people's podcasts and guests or podcasts and shows on my show. because I'm a believer, a true believer. Rising tide lifts all boats. I don't get upset, you know, not hearing them promote my show or say anything about my show. I try not to get caught up in that. I still promote their shows. I still talk about them because they're giving great content to the industry. So for me, it's about, you know, the community and really giving back and sharing with the community, learning from the community. Um, Hayes, man, Jonathan, you're bringing a lot of guests. You're throwing a lot of guests that I haven't connected with. So definitely, and I'll say it again. If you know of a guest that you would love to have on the show, that you feel like wouldn't mind being on the show and is comfortable being on the show, again, not everybody likes being in front of the camera. They're super talented. I've had so many super talented artists that I've reached out to, creators that I've reached out to, that just they don't like being in front of the camera. Their thing is I like being behind the scenes, and I totally respect that. I don't try and badger them. I don't try and coerce them to come on. I always tell them, hey, when you're ready to come on, the invitation's always open. I've had a lot of guests that, you know, are super talented, but their English is they're a little self-conscious about their English. They'll tell me, well, my English is not so good. So, you know, for that, I really don't want to be on the show. I respect that. Um, but even the ones that, you know, do feel a little self-conscious, but are okay with coming on and talking, it may be a little hard to understand, or, you know, their accent may be a little thick. They still enjoy coming on the show. Like I said, I love having guests on the show that are from different areas, from somewhere different than me, because I learned something. I connect with someone that you normally wouldn't connect with. As is good people. I'm gonna link y'all. Please do. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. Again, this hiatus is going to be a really good hiatus for me, because there's a lot of things that, again, I'm going to make changes for the show. I'm always trying to tool the show. Um, this quarter has been, and it's a good thing, I guess, that I've had these issues this quarter and kind of, you know, through this year. It's really been this quarter. The first two quarters of the year of this season were great. I hadn't hit my limit yet. Jonathan, I think you kicked us off this season, first episode. You know, I hadn't hit my limit, hadn't hit my limit on my machine yet. So this quarter really brought that home. So hiatus, like I said, I'm looking forward to, you know, retooling the system, retooling the scenes, and really dialing in the show a lot more. Um, I get into this conversation a lot with my friend about, you know, what's my end goal for this show, you know, monetizing it, all that kind of stuff, which is great, which would be good. You know, I'm always looking for sponsors. If you know, not only guests, but if you know of companies, um, you know, that want to reach out to other creators, want to connect with other creators, I would love to get connected with them. My only two requirements that I have for sponsors are: one, they're down with diversity and inclusion, and two, that their product or service is something that is of value to my community. Software, hardware, whatever it may be, it needs to be something that the community can use. Those are really the only two kind of requirements that I got for sponsors and partners. And I've had a couple of great ones. You know, Toon Boom, I think in season two, sponsored some episodes, and I was able to uh, give a fun giveaway. They gave me a couple of licenses, year licenses, to raffle off and do. That was fun. So sponsors like that, companies like that are companies that I want to get connected with and partnered with. But you know, it's not an easy thing, you know, because some companies they look at the numbers. I don't think it's so much the numbers. I think it's more the community. And if they even if it's a small number, if your community's engaged. I think a good partner appreciates that more than say if you had 1 million followers and really only 5,000 of them were, you know, engaged followers. And I think that's the myth. Uh, a lot of people they get a lot of subscribers or followers, but there's really only a small portion that support them or really, check out their content. And especially like you were mentioning before, the way the algorithm is, half the people that you're connected with don't even see your content anymore. So it's very, very hard now to really keep audiences engaged and, to grow a community on these social platforms. And the way they're doing dances around and changing things up left and right, it's very hard. You have to have a full time, basically a full time team to kind of keep up with that stuff, because it's it's a job. It is a job. Uh, Paid sponsorship is tough. But if you want sponsorship for prizes, I think I can help with that. Hey, like I said, just a conversation. Um, it goes either way. Obviously, paid helps me to continue, but prizes that they can give away, things that they can give away to the community definitely helps my channel because, people want to get. I'm trying to think. I can't remember who won those 2-year licenses, but man, they enjoyed that. Like I said, and I enjoyed giving it away. I almost wish I used Toon Boom or at the time, but it's fun to give away things. Again, it only serves to help the show. So, depending on, how they are, I don't have a problem with that. I would love to talk with sponsors. Yeah, it is kind of tough. I'm trying to get better at that. I'm working on, just getting more paid sponsorships. But, you know, well, I'm open. I'm open to talk. So, everybody just jumping in. We got a few people in. I am not Vanessa. Sorry. Uh, she had obviously had an issue. She did not show, so we're gonna have to reschedule. I'm hoping everything is okay with her. After this episode is over, I'll definitely jump on, shoot her a message, make sure everything is okay, get her rescheduled. Um, Again, this I think the stressing thing for me has, besides the technical stuff, has been the scheduling. Obviously, uh, you know, uh, keeping things on track and, you know, on a timely manner uh, is a challenging thing. Again, I don't think it would be so much of an issue, obviously, if I was, a big name podcaster or, show host. Like I said, I don't think a person would be late if they were going on the Oprah Winfrey show or the Joe Rogan show. But, that's where I try to work at. And I try to, like I said, make this show professional. And I like to think that most guests feel like, it's a professional show when they see the setup, they see how, I try to put things together. I think most see that it's professional, but, getting, like I said, the person to, show up when you ask them to show up and all of that kind of stuff, get you information, it can be hard, it can be challenging. Again, the first 3, 4 seasons, yeah, it was really easy. Maybe because it was, the show was fairly new. 3 seasons in, the show was fairly new, so I was booked out, like I said, 3, 4 months ahead of time, and which was scary because I don't like booking that far ahead because it's even more. Even though my system sends out reminders and things like that, it's even more easier for guests to forget about it, and that which is a odd a thing. Another thing you try to get across: put it in your calendar. Put the once you book it, make sure it's in your calendar so that you at least know. You'd be surprised how many. I don't even think put it in your calendar. You know, um, so that's always a challenge. And again, you have to you're at the mercy of kind of your guests. And especially the way I do this show, it's not an in studio thing. So I have to, you know, rely on, their equipment, their lighting, all their setup, all that kind of stuff. Even though I lay out, you know, I do have a pre-package and it is laid out, in the form what makes the things that they should be doing to make the best possible show. I know everybody doesn't have a professional mic. I didn't when I started this show. You know, I know everybody doesn't have, the kind of system, you know, that that you would like them to have or lighting that you would like them to have. But I try to at least let them know, hey, get in a quiet place, have some good lighting. If you have headphones, use your headphones. That's the best option. Um, I don't like I don't like when guests use their phone to do the interview, but I have had a few phone interviews and tablets, iPad type of thing. But the best experience is, a desktop, preferably hardwired as opposed to Wi-Fi. So I do have a list in a pack that I send to guests to let them know, hey, this is my goal is to make you look the best that you can do. You can look, and for me to do that, help me with, lighting, sound, audio, all that. Because this isn't in studio, so I don't have control over the cameras and lighting for us both. So, you just have to roll with it. And I can say over the 6 years, it's been great. I haven't had a whole lot of issues, you know. Um, most, most of the people that I've reached out to, have I've made a relationship with, have been on. Again, I know timing is everything. There are some guests that it's taken me a while to get on. I think it took me like I was trying to get Chris Doe. I finally got Chris on the show, and that was a surprise. But he's a big influencer in the design and creative space. I mean, I wanted him to come on the show to talk about business, the business of being a creative. And I followed Chris. I've followed him for a long time. And he, it took me, I think he came on in season 4. So it took me 4 years of just reaching out and staying connected and, just talking to him and, not, prodding him, but just letting him know that I wanted him, love for him to be on the show. And one day he said, hey, let's do it. So I know it takes some people time, and it's, I try and tell everybody I'm, persistently patient. So I try and be patient through the process, but I do try and be persistent with reaching out and connecting with them and letting them know that, hey, I still want you to be on the show. I would love for you to be on the show. So again, for all my viewers, if you are creative and, like I said, you enjoy being on camera and don't mind being on camera, and if you have, I think, like I said, everybody has a story to tell. But if you're free and would love to come on and share your knowledge, your passion for what you do, I would love to have you on. Love to meet you. Love to build a relationship with you. That's what it's all about, community. Everybody just jumping on. Again, our guest, originally scheduled guest, Miss Vanessa Ann Sinden, wasn't it? Hadn't shown up, wasn't able to show up. So hopefully everything is okay on her end. But I apologize. But like I said, it happens live, and I march on. I march on. But I think having backups, which I have never really been good at, because I've always depended on the guests to show up. So I think this year is because this year has probably been the most where I've had to reschedule guests or issues come up and that type of thing. Um, and I've had to make a pivot where I've just been calling them fireside chats. I may rename that, but I've had to make a pivot, but I've never really had you know base of topics or something prepared because again, because this show is a weekly show, um, only having a week to kind of prepare and get prepped for the next guest is a very short period of time, especially when you're producing the show yourself. It's a lot. So it doesn't give me a long bandwidth. Um, Maybe a little longer when I have when I've already had guests that are scheduled out and I know like the schedule, which I try to do. I try to at least be a month out. Um, but if I'm 2 or 3 months out, I at least know so I can prep. But it's very hard because the time moves so fast. I do have a regular job, so getting ready for a guest, prepping for a guest is a little time consuming. And then getting the scenes and everything set up. So it's tight from week to week. Like getting it up on the playlist, getting it up on the channel. Getting all the show notes together. So fortunately, automation. So I've tried to automate everything as much as I can. This show. That's the one good thing I think has come from doing this show. I've gotten better at trying to automate as much as I can, um, from the social posts to the emails, reminders, my scheduler, all of that. I've learned a lot from. Um, I learned a lot from my last show, so I try to add. I try to layer on everything that I learned to help me on to the next one. So 6 years doing it. I think moving forward, 6 more years, it should be top notch. I should be firing on all cylinders. All right, everybody just jumping in. Say hey, where you tuning in from and all that kind of good stuff. I see you're back on Restream there, Jonathan. But again, uh, I got your email. Mr. Jonathan Winbush has won a gift card because he was the first comment from Instagram. For all our Instagram followers, we're doing a fun little giveaway. To kind of commemorate us now starting to live stream the show from our Instagram channel. The first comment that comes into my comment section from the Instagram live wins a gift card. So Mr. Jonathan Winbush has won him a gift card, so appreciate that there. Uh, Mr. Dewan. That's what I've been noticing too, Don. The scheduling conflicts have been pretty common this year. I hope yeah, I just reached out to him earlier today to get him back on. I know, and he's trying to coordinate it with a function or a launch, kind of a comics launch, or I think it's a comics kind of convention or function. He's trying to coordinate it with that, and I think that's in towards the end of October. So I just reached out to him to kind of get him back on the schedule. But yeah, and that's the thing that worried me about it, and I appreciate my viewers being as forgiving as you are. And I think through season one, through all of this, I always tell everybody, live, you're at the mercy of what happens. And I've had a lot of things happen um, during this, during my time live streaming. And I love live streaming. I love recorded video as well. But there's something different about live streaming, that instant connection that you have with your audience. I enjoy. But with that being said, I'm at the mercy of things that go wrong. Audio, I've had storms come through that's knocked out my power during a live. I've had all kinds of stuff that I've had to kind of pivot from. But the thing that, again, encourages me and kind of propels me on is that, you, the viewers, have been still forgiving, still showing up, and still, you know, loyal fans, and I appreciate that. Um, so I always have to apologize when things happen, even though I know a lot of you understand. Um, what happens live. So kind of have to roll with it, that type of thing. Um, and even just this riffing, it's an hour and a half. That. So like I said, I appreciate my viewers, being as loyal as you are. I appreciate my guests that come on. Again, I try, as easy as it is to get mad or upset about things. I try not to let that. I try not to get to that point because again, things happen. I'm hoping that she's all right and everything is good, and that at the very least she just forgot to put it on her calendar, or something came up. You hate that, you don't want that. That she just they plain forgot. But that's why I say put it on your calendar. Make sure that the invite is in your calendar, so that way if something does come up, that you had that scheduled, type of thing. But I always want guests to come back on, an opportunity to come back on, and I always tell even the ones that do show up, it's a family thing. So if ever you want to come back on, the one, Jonathan, I've had guests on multiple times, just to update us with what's been going on, with them. And there's a lot of guests that I've made friends with over these 6 years that, I do like reaching out to and saying, hey, why don't you come back on, share what's been happening with you. Um, you know, Joshua Leonard, my very first guest, has been on, I think, 3 or 4 times. Emil's been on 3 or 4 times. Um, Dwayne, you've been on a couple of times. So I enjoy it when family members, and I always say that family members come back home to visit and just share. So please do. All you got to do, just shoot me a message. Hey, I'm working on something. I want to come back on. Um, or just stop by. I definitely want to do, I'm not going to do that now with this system, but I do want to do panels, like 3 or more guests on. But I know I have to get my new system for that. But doing more panels, um, like I mentioned earlier, I want to do more remote streaming, get to events and do more remote streaming. I know, Jonathan, you went to NAB. I've been wanting to get out to NAB for a while. So that's out in Vegas too. So, but I've done a couple of panels. I haven't done a live event at our local Houston Comic Palooza, but I have done panels there. So I definitely want to, uh, live stream from that event. So I'm going to hook up with your promoter for that and see about getting a table or something like that to live stream. So getting hooked up with other events and other organizations and other functions. I definitely would love to go out and Afro animation and stream from there as well. So there's a lot of things that I want to do moving forward with the show. And again, I'm always trying to figure out how I can take it up to the next level. And again, any suggestions from you guys, that you want to see, guests that you want to, want to come on, um, any connections that you have, please, please, please send them my way. And I know this year I've become more active about asking, making the ask. I mentioned earlier, I used to say, closed mouth doesn't get fed. And I never really got that when I was younger. But now I understand that you have to ask for something. You say no, but you're not gonna get a yes or no unless you ask. Uh, have them fly me out. I love to do Houston Comic Con. Yeah, I have to connect you with them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they would love to get you out there. This year was pretty good. I wasn't able to attend this year, but this year was pretty. They had a pretty good lineup of you know of people. Um, Obviously, people are wanting to come out for the autographs and the panels and the interviews, and what stars come out definitely, helps, draw buzz for the Comic-Con. But I love going out and connecting with a lot of creators. I know a lot of creators that that's their kind of thing. They hit the comic circuit, and they're just going from Comic-Con to comic convention. That's a heck of a life. And if you're an indie like comic book creator, it's a lot. It's a lot of investment on your part, hitting these conventions to try and build relationships, try and make sales. I know a lot of the sales come from them, but just getting a table and a booth, could be a challenge. Um, Definitely have you come out to Comic Palooza and do some Unreal stuff. Uh, is good for sure. And well, I would ask you on the show, but I'm not going to ask you that on the show because I know you get around to a lot of conventions and a lot of events, Jonathan. Um, and it was, you know, and I don't know, you don't have to answer this, but it always, it's for me, it's a question because, you think about that. Do they pay you to come out and speak or give you something? Or, I mean, because obviously you got to make a living. And obviously, just coming out, traveling, this, and that, or do they just take care of your travel and your stay type of thing? And I know, every organization is different. Some will pay you, come out. You did last, I think it was this year, you did the convention in Japan. Was it Japan? I think it was um, out motion graphics convention out in Japan that you did. I think those kind of things are you wonder. It just makes me wonder. Do they pay you to come out there, or do they just take care of your flight and stuff, or do they take care of that and pay you or whatnot? So I know it's different. 96. Let me throw this up. Uh, 90% of the time is paid. Yeah. But once in a while, they just cover travel and hotel. And I guess that's a fun thing. Like I said, obviously, they know this is how you make a living. So, they got to pay you something. I would figure they would pay you something. But again, just going out there, covering your airfare and your stay is enough for some, heck, I would probably do that for if they paid me to come out there like Japan or something. It'd be fun. So I guess it's uh, um, you decide how it goes, and the ones that are cool with doing that. Just like with sponsors, you know it's great. It'd be great to have a paid sponsorship that like obviously again helps me to continue to be able to create, having to pay, take care of my bills and take care of equipment and things like that and all that. It's always great to have a paid sponsor, but again, building a relationship to where okay, I have tools. My goal is obviously to grow the show and really make the show big. And I think as it gets bigger, in the reach, you start to realize what you're giving and what being given. And so there is this thing of a paid sponsorship, and I feel like there's a you know that can be met to where you are making money from they are paying you, um, maybe not huge sums of money, but you're making some money. But there may be times where they have software that again if it benefits the community, and it's a tool that really helps the community or service that really helps the community, then giving away licenses and giving away seats of their software or whatever is definitely another avenue to go down. So I'm not closed off to either one. You know, but it just always wonders because there's a lot of people obviously that are speakers and that's what they do. They speak at conventions and panels and stuff. I'm pretty sure, you know, Chris Doe gets paid pretty good, you know, for his speaking engagements. And you got to value, people's time. just the natural thing, business. We have been, for all you just joining in, appreciate it. We've been having a fun conversation. We've had to make a slight pivot. Our previously scheduled guest, Miss Vanessa Ann Sinden, was not able to make it today. Hopefully everything is going okay. Hadn't heard from, and she didn't jump in. So we're going to have to reach out. Obviously, an emergency came up because I did get a message from her yesterday when I sent her, and she was looking forward to it. So I'm assuming an emergency came up, and I always try to think that first. Something came up that somebody's just not going to show up because it's it's not a big show, so I don't really have to show up, or that type of thing. I don't think of guests that don't show up or happen to not show up, which has been, I can count on one hand that, but I don't think that off the bat. Well, yeah, I know Chris gets paid. Yeah, he's talked about it a lot. What his speaking, that's, and I'll give that to Chris, which is why I wanted to have Chris on the show, because he talks about the business of making money being a creative. So, I'm not putting, what he gets paid, but I know it's a good amount because he's built that cachet. He's built the value of what he brings. And businesses and companies know that. They're going to pay him. Adobe, he speaks at Adobe Max every year. I'm pretty sure they pay him pretty good to come out and be a speaker, but he gives great value. He's a creative. So for them, it's a benefit. And for Adobe, that's a small pittance of money to bring somebody out that's got that much social cachet. And his community is so dialed into him. Yeah, it's worth it to pay him. And again, that's how he makes a living, speaking, going to conferences. So, he's not gonna say, okay, Adobe, give me a seat of a creative suite. He's not gonna do that. He's gonna want to get paid. And I don't knock him for that. Heck, everybody's trying to get to that level, to where they're getting paid for their expertise and their knowledge. That's what it's really all about. So it was, that was a feather in my cap. I was just ecstatic when he reached. I was not expecting him to even know who I was, and I was, just consistent. I wasn't buggy, but every few months I'd shoot him a message. I always commented on his posts and things like that. And have been on some of his workshops lives and stuff like that. But it was out of the blue. I wasn't really expecting him to do it, but he reached back out to me and said, let's do it. And we had a great show. He brought a lot of value, and it was so appreciative. And I can't think of him. I would love to have him back on. But Chris he speaks at Adobe Max. He speaks all over the world. He does all these things. So, I wouldn't expect him, to just do everything for free or be speaking for free. So that's, I don't pay anybody, I'm guessing. I've been asked that before too. Are you charging people? Are you charging your guests to come on the show? Which seems kind of, I don't know, it's not bad, but it just seems kind of strange to me because, again, you know, I'm trying to help the community, trying to help them in whatever it is that they're promoting or working on. And so for me, it's not I don't look at it as an immediate type of payday, but, I look at the long-term value of building friendships and relationships. So no, I don't charge my guests, to come onto the show. Um, what can I say? But again, that's not to say that I'm not trying to monetize the show, or at least have the show pay for itself, as far as, taking care of things, buying equipment. Definitely want to get a new audio board. I love this mic. I don't really need a new mic, but there are things, I'm putting stuff together now for my remote setup. I'm going to put a video. I got a new banner that I'm going to try. I got one of those 3D holographic banners. You know, if every, I'm pretty sure you've seen them, Jonathan, at some of these conventions. But at a lot of the conventions now you got these 3D holographic fans that project graphics and images. And so last year I had got me a banner, but it's, one of those retractable banners. But I'm trying to make my remote setup really light and easy to travel with. And so this 3D holographic banner is small and compactable. It's not a big fan or anything like that. So I'll be able to travel with it. And I think it'll be a little bit different than the traditional retractable banner that I have. So just new things of trying to bring in, and definitely, obviously, sponsors help for that along the way. I don't know if you do memberships, Jonathan, or I don't know if you have a membership type of thing. That's another thing. Um, we talked about it before on our episode, Jonathan. It's not just one thing that makes money and all the things that you do. And I've had this conversation with my friends as well. There's unless you're one of those big, creators like Mr. Beast or something like that, you're not making a whole lot from a lot of these platforms or things like that. So most creators that I've come across and met, they've got so many lines in the water of generating revenue. That's really what it seems to be about. You know, 3D modelers or art 3D animators. They got courses. I'm trying to get uh, man, he just he's an animator at Pixar. Uh, McGriff. I think it's Aaron McGriff. Uh, but he's teaching animation. He's got an animation course and class that he's doing. So you got all these creators now that aren't just doing one thing to bring in revenue. They've got all these things that they're doing, whether it's their social channels bringing $dollars or a few $100 a month, to courses, memberships, plugins, scripts, whatever it may be. Everybody's trying to do these monetize. Everybody's trying to monetize their skill and their expertise in as many different ways as they can. Especially in this time that we're in now, where studios are letting people go. Um, I've never been one to put all my faith in a job because I know, working for somebody else, again, you're at the whim of whatever that company decides to do. So I try not to look at that as, I'm going to be there like you used to be, retire from a company. Those kind of days are kind of gone. And again, you're always at the, excuse me, you're always at the whim of whatever, like I said, the company decides to do. Excuse me. Everybody just jumping in. We are having a fun conversation. I am not Vanessa Ann Sinden. So we are going to have to reschedule her. Something came up, obviously. She was not able to make the broadcast. Hopefully everything is okay. But we will get it rescheduled. Dewan, like you said, I'm working to get Super Dion Parson rescheduled back on again. We just had David Walker, who was had to reschedule his episode because we had some major technical difficulty. Had him on last week, so yeah, Dewan, this year. Well, I won't say this year. This quarter specifically, because the first two quarters were good. I didn't have really any issues with, guests not showing or that type of thing, or technical issues like I had. It just all of a sudden kind of hit this quarter because I added a lot. I added Instagram, another channel to stream to. I wasn't streaming to Instagram before. So that's another thing that really pushed my system to the edge, adding another live stream channel. So now, yeah, this quarter I've had a lot more issues, and I'm had to make a lot more changes. So moving forward, knowing the changes that I'm going to have to make. Uh, Mr. Jonathan, and that's another thing too. I want to get creators on to really talk about the real of making a living. I think that's a big thing that especially indie creators. I mean, most are trying to scramble to get into jobs, 9 to 5 jobs, which I love talking about. But I really do focus a lot and think a lot about the indie creator because I feel like it's kind of going that way. I mean, it's just the indie kind of creative space is really starting to, I think, grow a lot more. And again, part of that is because studios now are just doing all these, wonky things about letting people go and this and that. But still, on the flip side, when I was posting those job things, you still see a lot of companies that are hiring, and those are the mid to smaller companies. I think a lot of creators or students that are wanting to get into studios are kind of, they're looking at that Pixar, Disney, wanting to get into those, big companies type of thing rather than, the smaller size game studio or animation studio, or even web series type of thing. So I think you got a lot of creators now that are looking at that as an easier way, especially when bigger studios they're wanting experience, and it's kind of that rock and hard place type of thing. They want the experience, but you can't get a job to get the experience type of thing. So started off small or on those kind of independent levels makes it a little bit easier. Uh, let's see here. Uh, yeah, I used to make okay money on YouTube, but they've done they done did something I can barely buy Happy Meal now. Oh man, and it's funny because again, I think people have this misconception about you hit a certain level of subscribers and you're just gonna make tons of money off of it. And I don't know if that's always necessarily the case. I was reading a post. I'd like to get him on too. He's created a web series. He has a web series on YouTube, Silly Crocodile. And he's talked a lot about just his challenges with his channel, monetizing it and whatnot, getting it. He's finally, I think, said he's finally gotten on the kids listening, and it's helped his channel grow a lot more now. But I think he was talking about he has over 1 million subscribers, and he's and he's making less than like 5,000 a month around there off of it. So again, I don't think it's one thing um, that you're gonna just solely depend on that thing. Heck, I don't even think, even though they probably make a pretty good penny, like Mr. Beast and I always get his name mixed up. MKD, HDD, MKD. I think it's MKD. Yeah. Even they, with the millions and millions and millions of views they get, they're not just depending on YouTube to do their living. They got all tons of other things that they're doing. Mr. Beast has a chocolate bar he's promoted. So and deals with Amazon and this and that, and MKD has programs and sponsors and things like that. So I think the one stop, your one stop shop of this is where I make all my money. I don't, like I said, most creators and most entrepreneurs, most business people, they've got so many different lines in the water to generate revenue. And as you mentioned it before yourself, Jonathan, it all adds up. It's all a cumulative thing, um, type. I mean, you're into like, I mean, your game is amazing that you created. You could go, and I'm pretty sure you've probably been approached, about that game. Um, you have a lot of opportunities. That's the thing. As a creative, you create these opportunities, and you just never know. the doors that it'll open up or where it'll lead you, what, road it'll lead down. But again, depending on you're not going to, you're not going to depend solely on, your speaking at different conventions and things like that. You're doing so many other things. Creators are doing so many other things to monetize their knowledge and their skill. You know, that's what I love about this time of being a creator. You're now able to do it a lot more easier than when I started out. And like I said, I've enjoyed watching this trend, this progression of technology, things, and AI and where we're at now, and even with all the controversy of AI. Trust me, I've been around long enough to know and long enough to see how design, graphics, and all of that has changed. And you're able to do things and express yourself in so many more ways now. Everything I started way before computers were the mainstream of doing design. Everything was manual when I started. Everything was paste up. you know, I graduated with a portfolio, a physical portfolio. Nobody carries. Very few people carry around or go into interviews with physical portfolios anymore. It's digital. And so I know a lot of people my age resist this technology, the speed at which technology is moving and things are moving, and you're having to learn and keep up with stuff. Software is moving at a rapid pace. Computers and hardware is getting lightning fast. Um, a lot of my generation, resisted or older resisted. But I've always enjoyed learning and learning something new and really progressing my skill set. And to do that, you have to go with the time. And again, especially now, you got a lot of great free software out there, a lot of reasonable price software that, if you're creative and a storyteller, you can now express yourself and get your ideas out there. A lot of channels now. Those channels weren't as bad as some of them are as far as, controlling what people see, all of this, all that aside, you still have those outlets. The thing is, like they preach, you need to get people into your own kind of ecosystem. I was listening to a lawyer, which is another thing. If anybody knows of a great IP attorney, lawyer, especially one that deals with the creative, like whether it's film or whatnot, I would love to have them on. That's another one I've been looking for, a good IP attorney, an IP lawyer to come on and talk about just IP content, rights and all of that. But there's this one lady I've been following, and she's an IP attorney. She's been doing videos on like directors and their deals and that type of thing. But again, she put it really great. You know, Social platforms are great, but it's rented land. You're at the, like I said earlier, you're at the whim of whatever the landlord decides they want to do. We can gripe about it, we can complain about it, but again, it's their company. If they want to charge, you know, Adobe, like I said, Adobe, if they want to, which they are, they're raising the prices. But if they want to do that, that's their product. They just run the risk and open up the door for companies, really good companies that fit that space of, people are getting tired of subscriptions, that type of thing. So those rare companies that can resist that as much as possible or stand on the principle of, hey, we're for creators, we're not trying to gouge creators and all of that. You buy your software, it's yours. You buy it, it's yours. You're not renting it, you're not leasing it, and all of that. you know Creators, people are kind of getting to that point, especially with the economy the way it is. It's very hard, and those companies that resist that or go against that grain are those ones that stand out, and those ones that they make a good following. And if they can stay on that path and really, not go that subscription route, they'll have a great following and a great loyal customer base. That's why I love Da Vinci. Da Vinci's a great example of that. They could easily charge, I hope they don't, and they could easily charge a subscription for Da Vinci Resolve, but they don't. You pay it once if you want to. They may go, if they do, I hope they go back to the model of, if you pay for it, but you don't necessarily have to upgrade. If you could skip this version if you want, and buy the next one if you want. That's the kind of model you're used to. I like most people, I like hard, physical, tangible stuff. So it's nice to get a software box in the mail, or have a software box. And even with their digital license, they mailed me a little card. It was, fun. It was something tangible that you felt like you had and you felt like you owned. So those kind of companies, they build a loyal following. You just hope they don't go the subscription route, or just try and throw in every kind of AI tool to justify, charging a subscription, which a lot of companies are. They're just throwing in AI tools and stuff and saying, hey, we need, we got to charge a subscription type of thing. So, I think but it's still an interesting time. You have a lot of choices. We have a lot of choices as creatives, as designers. And we have a lot of outlets, to get our ideas out there. So take advantage of them. All righty. Yep. Like you said, everyone is digital, so be different. Yeah, be different, Uh, and even if you're digital, like I said, subscription, I think those companies, or free, again, uh, they have other things to balance it out. They could easily charge. Blender's another one. They could easily charge. It's open source, but they could easily, put it behind a paywall, you know, but they didn't, and they tried their best not to, balancing it out with their fun and the shorts and films that they do. I think they're working on a feature length film now, for the next version of Blender. So it's all the better for the creative community, because then that allows them, to create plugins and valuable tools that add on to that software, and just make it even more better. So, you hope more software companies like that do. And I think that's why Blender is gaining ground on a lot of these mainstream packages now, because again, it's easily accessible and it's a powerful plugin that allows indie creators that couldn't afford or can't afford a subscription, to create. So I'm all for it. I love companies like that. I pray that they resist that temptation of going that route, you know, and, or finding a different route. Like I said, you could do a paid you know type of software, but let people be able to skip a version and own it. I think you can still make a living and a profit doing it as a company. I think companies now, they're just throwing in as many AI tools as they can, so it justifies raising the price and that type of thing. But again, it's rented land. So you got to go with what the landlord does and says. For everybody just joining in, again, I'm not Vanessa. We've had to make a pivot. Hopefully everything is okay with her. Uh, Again, I did talk to her yesterday. She was looking forward and excited about the episode. So I am assuming something came up, and wasn't able to get back with me. So we will be rescheduling her. But I have enjoyed this episode and this conversation. Definitely, like I said, please, I'm always open for suggestions, recommendations, just, in, uh, introductions, anything to make the show better, and always looking to see how I can make the show better and ratchet the show up. And this quarter has definitely been one of the quarters that I've had to kind of figure out, okay, I'm at a point now to where I got to start making changes and taking it to the next level. Because I felt like pretty much this year and maybe towards the end of, last year, I felt like I was leveling out on just the show. And I never liked the show. I always want the show to be fresh. And I always want the show to be not only educational and informative, but entertaining. Um, you know, has to have some sort of entertainment value. And I like to feel like I said, I bring a little entertainment and fun into it, but I definitely I lean on my guests, I lean on you, the viewers, to really bring a more educational, informative episode. So I cannot thank you enough, as always, for being, the best guest as possible. I always like jumping around, and I think it's funny. Like I said, if I had Vanessa on here, these scenes would be going a lot slower for sure, and jumping around from scene to scene. Um, like I said, definitely make sure that you stay connected um, with the community, be a part of it. Really subscribe to the channels. Like I said, YouTube's, they're going through their crazy phase right now and making some changes. You may agree with it, you may not agree with it. To me, I think it makes it harder for the small creator, the new creator, to really get to that level, because I think the numbers are a little outrageous for me. Um, but again, rented land, you got to go with what the landlord does. But to combat that, I have to continue to ask you, share, subscribe, like it, comment on these things as well. That definitely helps, the algorithm as much as it can help the algorithm before they change it. All that stuff on all the channels, the Facebook group community, be a part of that. The Instagram, follow all the channels, follow, like, subscribe. Definitely lets me know, hey, I'm on the right track and people enjoy the content of the show. All right, we've hit 2 hours. I didn't think I'd get to 2 hours, but I tell even my guests, it goes by quick. It really does. So I can't thank you enough for helping me, get through this episode. Appreciate you as always giving me a little bit of your time every Saturday afternoon, because I know you don't have to, but I appreciate all my viewers and all my guests that are part of the show and a part of the family. Like I said, next week is our final episode of the quarter before we go on hiatus for a little bit. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. I am looking forward to that. Hopefully, we can close this quarter out with a great show, and that's what I always expect. So I'm super super looking forward to our next guest that's coming on the show, Mr. J.M. Estevez, character artist and designer, which is a fun topic to close out the quarter on. Super talented artist and character designer, and we're going to dive into his story and his journey. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Like I said, that is the final episode to close out this quarter before we go into the final quarter of this season. Sixth season. And sixth season. So, with that, I hope you have an amazing rest of your Saturday. I hope you have a great weekend. Definitely, definitely, definitely join us next week and close out the season or close out the quarter with us. So, with that, have a great one. I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, you know? Man. There we go. Yeah. Slow, slow, slow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.